Welcome to Waywut, your weekly verbal double take. This is a rabbit hole podcast where a couple of old guys do moderate to shallow dives into various topics, ranging from true crime, paranormal, sports, pop culture, or anything else that we find interesting. We drop episodes every Tuesday and on Fridays if we feel like it. You can follow us on Facebook, X, and TikTok. We appreciate you joining us. And now that we got all this self-promotion stuff out of the way, here we go. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Waywut. My name is Darrell. I will be taking on the hosting duties today. And here I am with the one person that is still waiting for Britney Spears to make a sequel to her movie Crossroads, Jason.
I've never seen the first one.
Neither have I.
That's a shocker, considering how infatuated I was with her at one time.
You were very infatuated with it. I do think it's hilarious that you were all about Baby One More Time, and I'm like, I don't want to listen to that. And you're like, but she's hot. And I'm like, but I can't see her. What do I care? And now that's like my number one go-to karaoke song.
And you nail it.
I know I do. Well, I am going to tap into my movie guy side, and I am going to have a sequel rant today.
A sequel, all right.
Yeah. Now, I generally have a very high tolerance for sequels. I love scary movies, and sequels come with pretty much most of them. Not all, but damn near. So, I mean, because scary movies are built for sequels, and there are a whole lot of horror sequels I really like. Love Friday 13th Part 2 and Part 4. I like Exorcist 3. That's really good. I like Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and New Nightmare. You know, there's lots of horror sequels out there that I really like. And whenever it comes to like normal movies, if sequels are part of the original plan for the story, then I'm definitely on board.
Yeah.
A great example of this is the original Star Wars trilogy. Oddly enough, with the Star Wars trilogy, it's also a great example of a sequel being better than the first. I am part of the correct-minded majority that know that Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie ever made. It's true.
Kind of like Lord of the Rings, how that sequels were needed. It was
Harry
Potter
based on a trilogy of books. So,
yeah.
Well, don't get me started on the Harry Potter sequels, though. I don't like most of those.
No, yeah.
They make me angry. I don't want to be that angry right now during my rant. So, I mean, but planned movie series are cool because it's telling a whole story, and it's essentially almost like watching an extra long movie or a mini series or something along those lines. My anger in this rant is based on the unplanned and forced sequels. A great example of this would be the second Joker movie. First Joker movie was really good, critically acclaimed. Joaquin Phoenix got an Oscar. Woohoo, really good.
Yeah.
But more importantly to the producers, it made over $1 billion. Once that happened, the studios wanted another one, even though the movie was made as a one-off. I mean, and they even made sure to not tie this in with any other comic book movies. It was supposed to be this one single thing, but money talks, and they squeeze a turd of a movie out that undid the character journey from the previous movie.
I haven't even seen it. Is it
really
that bad?
I learned enough about it where, I mean, because like the musical part didn't bother me. I was actually kind of looking forward to that. I thought it was going to be kind of a neat way for them to do things. It's what they do with the character. All the development from the first movie gets completely undone. It even starts off undone. And I'm just like, that's not what I want. I want to watch them grow, progress, things along those lines.
Right.
The other way that these tend to go wrong is a sequel is a continuation of a story. If you have if characters that have completed their journey in a movie, then for the writers to do another movie, they typically have to undo the progress that they made.
Or unwind it a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at the newest Star Wars sequels. We had a happily ever after ending for the rebels at the end of Return of the Jedi. The new sequels come out and they have to undo all that to extend the conflict. You end up with Han Solo and Princess Leia split up, a cranky hermit Luke Skywalker, and a whole bunch of pissed off fans because everything that was built up and you have this great journey just it's like, oh yeah, and they lived unhappily ever after. I don't want that. Nobody
No.
wanted that. I would love to sit here and point the finger at more bad sequels, but the people that are really to blame on this is us. It's the audience.
Yes, give me more.
Yeah. We watch, play, or read about characters that we get attached to, and we just want more and more time with these characters. But that time comes with a price.
Yep.
The characters that people love can never know peace because the audience wants to see them more and more.
Stifler.
Yeah. I mean, are writers supposed to make sequels where we watch our favorite characters deal with peaceful life issues? Are we supposed to see Indiana Jones have trouble getting a flat tire repaired because all the tire shops are busy? Are we supposed to watch, Harry Potter go to a teacher parent meeting because one of his kids acted up in class because the girl he has a crush on likes his best friend instead of him? No, nobody wants to watch that.
No. They know when to stop. You gotta know when to stop.
I mean, but they want millions of people to line up, so you have to, take these characters everybody loves and rip their lives apart. Undo the nice little bow that they tied at the end of the movie before that.
Yeah.
So if you love certain characters, try not to love them so much. Otherwise, all their struggles you witness will be undone just so they can do it all again just for your selfish ass.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of sequels, we have gotten our very first sequel request. But
Oh.
don't you worry, this one was planned. I wanted to do it. I was just waiting for someone to ask, and that finally happened. So now I am proud to bring you all Nuclear Butterfingers Part 2, International Boogaloo.
All right.
All right. As stated in the first smash hit, Nuclear Butterfingers, there have been at least 32 broken arrow incidents involving American nuclear weapons. Last time, we focused on nuclear bombs dropped on American soils. The downside of that was American lives were in danger. The upside was it wouldn't be an international incident that could potentially lead to war. Well, this time we're going to go over the times that the American military had nuclear whoopsies in foreign countries.
Oh, even worse.
Yeah. It's like, all right, let's see if we can up this. You have to take it and you have to go up a notch.
Yeah, it's like your kid getting sick, but he also gets sick and throws up in the car.
Oh no! What I hate even worse is whenever they get sick and they throw up in someone else's car, like their friend's mom or like.
Yeah, you have
Then
to
you
clean it up then.
then you feel guilty.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, why did I have kids? Oh, anyway.
Oh, I don't know how many times I got my kids to the doctor's office for them to only puke in the parking lot of the doctor's office in the car.
I think one of the funniest things that has ever happened to me was whenever Trip was like a baby. He's like 1, maybe 2. And we were visiting some family in Kentucky, and we went to Walmart to go pick some stuff up. And I'll be goddamn if that boy did not projectile vomit all over Walmart. And we're just like, yeah, he was pretty. He was fairly sick. That was when I learned about Pedialyte popsicles, which now I stand by those suckers.
Yeah, better than the actual Pedialyte.
Damn
I
right.
think anything could get that sweet.
All right. Well, our first incident happened on December 5th, 1965, in the Philippine Sea.
Okay.
The USS Ticonderoga had left the U.S. naval base in Subic Bay a month prior to that, and it was traveling about 68 miles away from Kikai Island in Japan. The Ticonderoga was an aircraft carrier that had been built during World War II. On board the Ticonderoga was a Douglas A-4 Skyhawk. These were jets that the American military used from the 50s all the way through the 70s.
Okay.
So you like Vietnam jets and stuff, you see a lot of them are these, or anything during like Korean War. Now, I bring up, like the fact that this is a jet is that it fascinates me that these jets were capable of nuclear bombing. So I'm like, how did they do this? Because these were, they're
Pretty
usually
small.
big old fat, and you got to try to get away from it, and you don't want to get blown up. Well, if you recall, in the first nuclear Butterfingers episode, all the bombs were on board these really large bombers that flew super high in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And when with you actually have a bombardier and they're able to target things. A jet, you're not going to be able to have that. So what they had to do with jets in the event of dropping these big fat nuclear bombs or any big fat bombs, it's called the loft bombing method.
Just dangling.
No.
Oh.
This is a trip. So the pilot does a loop. So they fly forward and then they climb up.
Okay.
Well, as soon as they're going upward, they release, and they're going at a very high speed. They release the bomb. So whenever they release the bomb while they're flying upward, and you'd think in your head, well, wouldn't that just fall down? No, it flings it upward, way higher in the air than what they are, and then it does a loop and flies the fuck out of there.
All right.
I mean, I know I say it and it sounds like it doesn't make any sense, but it's essentially using the jet to throw the bomb as high up in the air as it can and giving it enough time to vacate so that it doesn't get flash fried in a nuclear explosion. And being that it throws it up in the air, it does just like other nuclear bombs where it has the parachute opens up, causes it to slow down on its descent, jet gets out of there.
That
Now,
sounds like a maneuver for Maverick.
yeah. This jet in particular, this A4 that I'm talking about today, did not ever get the chance to do that. I just thought it was really neat because I was like, wow, the hell jets do that? So that's why I talked about it.
Hmm.
Instead, this jet was an expensive radioactive version of watching your toddler spill something in slow motion. Like whenever you're sitting at the table and you see them like holding their plate sideways and you're just like, no, and you can't stop it in time, and next
Yep.
thing you know, there's stuff all over the place.
And you grab that one piece of paper towel that gets up everything.
No, that's in commercials. In reality, it always takes more than one.
Of course it does.
Now, during a training exercise, Lieutenant Douglas Webster piloted the A4 aircraft as they were rolling the jet from the hangar bay to an aircraft elevator.
Mhm.
So, you got all these jets, but they don't all just sit out there. They
Yeah.
lower them down into storage areas and stuff like that. Well, as part of this training exercise of moving this jet from here to there, it was loaded with a B-43 nuclear bomb. This was a 1 megaton hydrogen bomb. Megaton means it's, the explosion is the equivalent of like 1,000,000 pounds of dynamite or something like that. It's insane.
Sounds like a lot.
Yeah. Now, in all of the accounts of this that I've read, which I read a lot, no one is able to explain how, but somehow the jet was pushed backwards by the elevator and it started rolling backwards. The crew realized, like, oh gosh, this thing's going to the edge of the aircraft carrier. So they start like waving their hands, blowing whistles, trying to do anything to get the pilot to hit the brakes. Apparently, he did not see or hear any of the signals, and the plane rolled all the way off of the aircraft carrier and into the Philippine Sea.
Oh no! Are those things usually strapped down?
Yeah. Whenever you're not moving it, they were moving it. He was essentially just driving it, like he was steering it and driving it, and following the directions of the guys waving their arms to take it from the hangar to the elevator. That's what he was supposed to be doing.
You would think they would still strap it down onto the elevator.
How's it supposed to be strapped down? It was still
Just like a
rolling.
little strap. Just a strap.
No,
Just
strap
to
it
put
to
it
what?
down.
It was moving.
On the elevator pad.
It was moving. Jason, if you have your car strapped to your driveway, how the fuck do you expect to roll it out of there?
No. If the pad is going up, you think they would still
It
strap
was
it to
not
the
going up.
pad.
It was going from the hangar to the elevator.
Okay.
It was traveling to the elevator.
Okay.
Listen to me. I don't need you frustrating me. All right. God damn it. Oh, so what happened is it rolled off the edge, and whenever it rolled off, it flipped upside down, fell flat onto the water, and sunk very quickly. Lieutenant Webster, the jet, and the nuclear weapon sank what they're estimating to be 16,000 feet.
Wow.
And they've never been recovered. None of them.
No, you think the pressure would just crush everything.
Well, yeah, but they think that because the canopy was open on the jet, and they think that whenever it fell face down, that the impact would have either knocked Webster unconscious or killed him on impact, one or the other.
Damn. What a terrible way to go.
The Department of Defense was able to keep all of this quiet for 24 years.
Wow.
But in 1989, the incident was revealed. Japan was not thrilled about this and had a diplomatic inquiry to get more details, because it's like, what do you mean there's a nuclear bomb that's like 68 miles off our coast? Last time y'all brought nuclear bombs over to our place, it did not go well for us. So they were pretty pissed. And that was kind of it for all this, except, the fact that this poor guy died in a classified incident, and it left his wife and his mom, who weren't allowed to know how he died.
I was about to ask that. What did they tell the family?
Well, that was the thing, is from what I could find, they really didn't tell him much anything, just that he was dead. And on top of that, it was during part of the Vietnam conflict. So they go to look for him on memorials. He's not on there either. I did find an article written by a sailor that was on that ship whenever all this happened, and he just reiterated just how hard they try to get him to stop. And even he says he doesn't know what knocked it backwards. So, it's just overall, it's just kind of depressing. But I mean, at the same time, everything I've read also described this as like almost happening in slow motion, where everybody sees what's about to go wrong and can't do anything to stop it.
Man.
It is the slowest nuclear accident I will be going over today.
Man.
Well, the next nuclear incident took place a whole month later.
Oh, I think it turned that no accidents in the workplace calendar very far.
Yeah, I didn't get to stay there very long. It was about a month and a half later, on January 17th, 1966, over Palomares, Spain. A B-52G bomber was carrying 4 B-28 Fi Mod 2 Y1 thermonuclear hydrogen bombs.
Damn.
That is a mouthful.
That was a mouthful.
But essentially, it was carrying 4 hydrogen bombs with 1.1 megaton yields in each one.
Jiminy Christ.
So, yeah. Now, unlike other incidents that I've gone over, which are almost always training exercises, this one wasn't a training exercise, and it wasn't them relocating a nuclear weapon. This aircraft was flying an actual mission for Operation Chrome Dome.
Chrome Dome.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with Ninja Turtles. I checked. This Operation Chrome Dome was a Cold War operation that the American military had to make sure that we constantly had armed nuclear aircraft in flight in case action against the USSR had to be enacted quickly. So
Okay.
this is all that time before we had ICBMs, where essentially it's like, you do something, no matter where it is, we can shoot a missile from Rooster Poot, Kansas, that will go right into Moscow.
Mm-hmm.
This was before that, and that's how they did. They just constantly had people flying these big bombers around with nuclear weapons in them.
On the ready.
Yep. The B-52G was about to begin its second mid-air refueling during this mission. And as it approached the KC-135 tanker, so the big plane that has all the gas in it, it was approaching it up at 31,000 feet. So that's like just shy of 6 miles in the air, I guess.
Pretty high up there.
Yeah. The B-52G approached the tanker too fast. And normally whenever that starts happening, the pilot in the tanker and the people watching will be like, whoa, break away. And then they'll let some space and then they'll try to even up their speed again. This did not happen this time. And the bomber struck the nozzle that's hanging off the tanker, off the big boom, so this big stick hanging out of this giant plane. And whenever it hit that boom, it caused its left wing to rip off. And then the boom itself tore into the B-52. The explosion that resulted, killed all 4 people on the taker plane. It's a big plane full of gas, so it explodes. They all die. And then 4 out of the 7 men on the B-52 bomber, they lived, but 3 of them died. One of them, I think he even died in the act of ejecting. It was all just a horrible, just disaster. But it got worse. The aircraft remains and the 4 nuclear weapons fell near the Spanish fishing village, Palmares. One of the bombs landed in a riverbed and was mostly intact. Just big bomb, just falls, nothing. Just splat. 2 of the bombs exploded on impact. Now, although the nuclear reaction from the nuclear material in it was not triggered, it still had a bunch of plutonium in it that just dispersed in the explosion. So essentially, it was 2 big dirty bombs.
Yeah, sprayed that shit everywhere.
Yeah, so it sprayed all. It put all this radioactive contamination in an area just under a square mile. Now, plutonium, which was in both of these warheads, has a half-life of 24,000 years.
Oh.
So the plutonium that ended up there, it's not going to stop being dangerous anytime soon.
Doesn't sound like it.
No. Cleanup efforts have been going on there for decades. And they still, even to this day, continue to find radioactive material. They even found 2 trenches filled with radioactive dirt. Yeah.
Damn.
Various
Is this on the coast? Like the city on the coast or close to it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the coast. It's on the coast of the Mediterranean. That's what I was going to get to. Those various politicians from Spain have tried to attempt to calm people down in the months after the incident. They would go swimming in the beaches at the beaches near it to try to be like, "Hey, it's okay. Don't you come on back? Come on back." And now, despite snails in that area testing to be radioactive, there have been no indications of health issues in any of those areas.
Really?
So,
what do the snails look like?
Probably like snails, just snails with a tumor or something.
Glowing, super fast.
Maybe. That leaves us with one more bomb. So we had one that just went splat in a riverbed, 2 that exploded. With the 4th one, when their initial search for it, all they found is the parachute tail plate. So the spot that pops off for the parachute to come out. So the plate, they found that. This is pretty good indicator. It means that the parachute deployed. And when they're looking around and they're not finding the bomb, they're like, uh-oh, and they look out towards the Mediterranean Sea because they're like, oh, that means it's out there somewhere.
Oh.
10 days after the incident, U.S. naval ships began arriving to search for the missing nuclear bomb. And it was like over the course of like a few months, it was like, I want to say about 20 or 30 different ships were out there at one point or another. All right. The bomb was eventually found at around 2,550 feet below the ocean or below the Mediterranean Sea on March 17th. So 2 months after the incident, on the dot, they found the bomb underwater. They attempted to bring the bomb to the surface, but dropped it. And this caused the bomb to get lost again.
You can't make this shit up.
My bad. It's like, oh, I thought I had it. God.
Oh, you slipped. It was so close.
Oh, man, you said you were the best at those claw machine games. I am.
Oh, that's just perfect. Who was doing the rescue mission? Is it? I'm guessing
It's U.S.
Okay.
It's U.S. I mean, it's our bomb, so we don't really want somebody else grabbing that.
Very true. I just didn't know they were getting assistance from Spain or whoever.
No, it's our bomb. We don't want it. Now, a little more than 2 weeks later, they found the bomb again. So it took them 2 more weeks. But this time it was at 2,900 feet deep. So it's like,
hang on to it.
One of those things where it's like, oh, God, whenever you barely grab something with your fingers and then it goes a little further out of the way, and you're like, yes. Shit!
Especially a screw when you're working in the engine or something.
However, this time they were able to successfully recover the bomb. Essentially, they brought it up 2,800 feet, and then the last 100 feet they like double, triple, quadruple strapped it and made sure they got that sucker up.
Use both hands.
Yeah. Now, to cap this whole incident off, part of how they were able to find this bomb was because of a local fisherman from Palmares named Francisco Simo Orts. He witnessed the bomb falling into the ocean, and he told the Navy. They hired him as like a scout to help them, find the area where the bomb landed. And like I said, eventually they successfully found the bomb. After the bomb was recovered, after they got out of the water, Francisco shows up at a U.S. District Court in New York with a former Attorney General he was Attorney General during Eisenhower's administration as his lawyer to claim salvage rights to the nuclear bomb, which I'm sitting here thinking that Attorney General had to like go out of his way to go solicit this dude and be like, hey, come here, I got an idea. Because according to maritime law, if someone identifies the location of a ship that is considered salvage, the person who identified the location is entitled to money if the salvage is recovered. This is like a big deal. You find like a boat that's not sunk, but mostly sunk, and you help them locate it. They're able to get their cargo off of it, all this other stuff. You're usually entitled to some money. The amount is usually 1 or 2% of the value of what was salvaged. So in the event of like it's a boat, it's not just the boat, it's the contents of the boat and all this. This bomb was valued by the Secretary of Defense at $2 billion.
Oh, yeah, that attorney saw money signs.
Oh, yeah. If they followed maritime law, then it would have entitled Francisco to at least $20 million. $20,019,66. That's like $2 billion nowadays. I don't know. I don't know all the math for inflation.
I think he probably should get it because without his help, they may not have found it.
The U.S. Air Force settled out of court with Francisco for an undisclosed amount. All that is known is years later, Francisco was known to loudly complain that the Americans did not keep their promise about his payment, which doesn't surprise me one damn bit. Yeah, I could totally see them being like, "Oh yeah, no, trust me, bro. We will totally pay you like $10 million. I promise." And they like paid him like 10 million pesos or something.
Yeah, or they change administrations and they've lost the paperwork and the change.
Yeah. All right. Now
Well, that was
it
interesting.
is. Yeah, I like that one. Uh, now we'll go to our final nuclear debacle of the day. And this one happened, a good 2 years later. So they actually
Oh,
got some time on
all right.
so many days since our last nuclear
Make
accident.
it in
This one,
triple digits.
yeah, this one happened on January 21st, 1968, near the Thule Air Base in Greenland.
Okay.
Captain John Haug, I'm going to say Haug, it's Haug, Haug, was was flying a B-52G, same plane as the last one, with six other men as crew. You had seven men crews were pretty much normal for those.
Mhm.
Once again, we have a bomber carrying four B-28 Fi thermonuclear bombs for Operation Chrome Dome. Again, so these are people that are like just flying around with their bombs just in case they got to go, you know, destroy and kill millions upon millions of people.
That idea seems good in theory, but with all the accidents they seem to be having,
All right, here's the
I
thing
know
to
they
keep.
probably had a million flats, and
I
there's
was gonna
only
say they did this for like a couple decades at the least, and that's 365 days a year for
uh,
20 years. That's a lot of people in the air, and I've got two incidents.
very
So
true.
statistically, still safer than driving.
But incidences that, if were to happen, could destroy the
Would
world.
you rather them drive the nuclear weapons around?
No, not let too many stupid people driving around.
Hey, they eventually came up with a solution: the intercontinental ballistic missile. So
Yeah, it's much safer, much safer.
yeah. So unlike the last one, we don't have a dramatic midair collision. This flight met disaster because someone put some cushions in the wrong spot. Someone put three or four cloth covered foam cushions in front of a heat vent. As the flight followed its Arctic flight plan, the crew got colder and colder. The co pilot, who had taken over to relieve the pilot for a little while, opened the engine bleed valve, which would draw hot air into the plane vents. So all the air that was going over the engines that are sitting there going,
Uh-huh.
it put all this heated air into the air vents.
Yeah, kind of switching your floor vent on, get
At
the heat out the
first,
engine.
yeah, at first, no one noticed. Nobody could tell. It was still freaking cold, and it wasn't getting any better. But then they started getting hot, but not just like comfortably hot, like way too hot. They're like, okay, this is, we went from freezing and now I'm sweating my ass off. The cushions in front of the vent caught fire. Despite the smell of burning rubber, they did not immediately locate the fire. It was like tucked away behind like some metal plate or something like that. So they weren't seeing like the actual flames or
Flames.
anything.
Yeah.
By the time they did find it, it was too large for them to put out. They exhausted both fire extinguishers that they had within 5 minutes
Damn.
and failed to put this fire out. The pilot requested permission for emergency landing, but while he was doing that, the plane lost electrical power and smoke started to fill in the cockpit.
Oh no.
Um, yeah, so he can't. He's like, I'm not gonna be able to bring this plane down safely. It's full of smoke, got no electricity.
Got a
He
nuclear
tell
bomb on board.
he tells everybody bail out. Everyone but one co-pilot bailed out successfully, and the one fatality, that co-pilot, um, It happened. His name was Leonard Svitenko, and he sustained a head injury trying to jump from the bottom hatch of the plane. And so he goes to jump out, bangs his head, dead. Which sucks. He's the only one that died. The empty B 52G continued flying without a crew, just flying off into the sunset until it eventually crashed about 7.5 miles west of Thule Air Base. The plane smashed into the sea ice of North Star Bay. So they didn't crash on land. It was a frozen sea because they're in the Arctic. And it ended up causing like this really like awful black smudge across the ice that went on for like a couple miles. And it also even busted a big old hole in the ice on top of that. The 1.1 megaton explosives inside each, so it's 1.1 each of those 4 nuclear bombs exploded on impact. All 4 blew up. Like the other one, the nuclear reaction did not occur, but just like in Palmares, it was essentially 4 gigantic dirty bombs that spread out all this radioactive material all over the place. The large explosion from the crash scattered parts of the plane across a 1 mile by 3 mile area.
Damn.
So yeah, it spread out pretty far and wide.
Big crash site.
And with a really, really big boom on top of it. Well, 4 big booms, I guess. Now, where the Palmares, sorry, I got to go back to my Spanish accent. Palmares incident only, spread plutonium. The 2 bombs that blew up had plutonium. This crash dispersed plutonium, uranium, americium, I don't know, radioactive stuff, and tritium.
Man.
Now, like I said before, plutonium has a half-life of 24,000 years, so not great there. Americium, I don't know how that's pronounced.
France.
Fuck you. All right, it has a half-life of 430 years. So, we're looking a little better there. Tritium has a half-life of 12 years. So that's even way better. That's going to stop being radioactive real soon. Uranium can have a half-life of up to 4.5 billion years.
Wow.
That's worse. That's considerably worse.
Okay, I have a question about these half-lives. How do they know how it'll last that long?
Because they've studied these elements and watched how they disperse their I want to say it's their protons. Might be their electrons.
How they dying off? How slowly it dies off?
It's the particle. Whenever something's like radioactive, it's essentially emitting particles, and that's the radioactivity. That's the waves that are coming off of it. It depends on like how much of it's going off that determines what kind of waves that you're dealing with: alpha waves, beta waves, gamma waves, whatever.
So they could just math it out.
But with uranium, depending on like. So whenever it comes to uranium, you have like different ones, like uranium-43, uranium whatever. And if I remember right, that has to do with the number of neutrons that are in its nucleus. And now, thanks to you, I'm boring all these listeners with fucking physics.
You're just answering the question.
Uranium has a really long half-life. It takes a long time to shed all its excess weird protons, electrons, or whatever. I'm not a physicist. If I got it wrong, please feel free to correct me in the comments because
it sounded great to me.
I mean, well, I did the best to sound like I knew what I was talking about. So I know it's something along those lines, but people that understand that, please type it up in the comments. I am always happy to admit whenever I'm wrong or stupid. So we're good.
That's a great explanation.
Now, Greenland is the territory of Denmark. So the Denmark and American governments both teamed up to start cleaning up the site because there's nothing to recover this time. It didn't like, oh, this is our nuclear weapon. We want to make sure that you don't have it. Instead, it's like, oh, well, it blew up all the place. You want to help us clean this up? And so they began Project Crested Ice. It had a slang term that was like, I want to say it was Operation Freeze Love or something along those lines. But they all began cleaning up the radioactive mess. The people taking part in the operation were constantly dealing with temperatures as low as negative 76 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's pretty damn cold.
It is. And winds up to 89 miles per hour.
Oh, man. That's inhabitable.
Yeah, it's just nasty. This is why you don't go to Greenland.
Why do they call it Greenland? Nothing green there.
From what I understand, now this could be folklore or it could just be like something I heard when I was a kid. It was done kind of like to trick people. It's like, oh yeah, no, it's great. The Vikings were like, hey, we got this really great spot. It's awesome. It's green. It's wonderful. Stay away from Iceland. It's horrible. Go to Greenland.
Oh, marketing.
Yeah. So the conditions for the cleanup were not ideal, and it led to numerous equipment failures. I mean, they were like having their batteries would keep going dead too fast because a lot of times with batteries, it's a matter of heat being the energy. So they'd have to like shove it under their coats to try to extend the battery life. And they spent just under a month trying to undo or at least reduce the amount of damage that they did to the area. The Danish officials did not want any, like zero, of the radioactive ice or wreckage anywhere near Greenland and insisted that America remove the ice and wreckage from the area and take it to the U.S. for disposal. So America was like, hey, yeah, it's our bad. You're right. So they moved all the busted equipment from, the B-52 and like the remnants of the bomb or whatever. All that stuff was taken to Texas. It came to our neck of the woods to some place where they could collect it, observe it, gather data, whatever. And all the ice that was impacted by this, so you got all this radioactive water, ice that was going to melt into radioactive water, and they put the ice in wooden boxes, and then the wooden boxes inside of what they called tanks, and they hauled all those tanks full of all this radioactive ice and stuff to South Carolina. Now, South Carolina, it makes sense to me, considering that the U.S. already dropped nukes on them previously. See Nuclear Butterfingers episode 1 for the full story. It's an amazing episode. Please watch it or listen, whatever.
It's a good one.
By the end of Project Crested Ice, America declared that they were able to remove 93% of the contaminated material from the crash site. Pretty damn good. However, this was not the end of the controversy involving this incident. Danish people were pretty pissed off because Denmark made a nuclear-free policy in 1957. They weren't supposed to be letting America or any other country use their airspace or land for missions involving nuclear weapons. Denmark and America were like, oh, no, it wasn't a routine mission. I mean, this is, the airplane had some issues. It just had to happen to go over the airspace. It was totally, just an accident. But then documents came out in the 1990s that showed that Denmark and America had agreed for these routine flights. It's like, great. I mean, the other thing that, Denmark also agreed to with Greenland is we kept like a stockpile of nuclear weapons in Greenland, which, the Danish are like, what the hell? The Danish people, the Danish government was like 102, 103, In 1987, 200 Danish workers that took part in the cleanup unsuccessfully sued America for workers' compensation due to health issues from the radiation exposure. In 1995, the Danish government paid 1,700 of the workers that worked on cleaning up the contamination for their injuries. They paid them 50,000 kroner, which I don't know what that is. It's 50,000 Danish dollars. Apparently, that amount was not satisfactory. And they kept pushing, saying, hey, one big payoff is not going to help us here. In 2011, the Danish government provided a report stating that the radiation dose for the workers in that cleanup was less than the recommended exposure level. So they're like, hey, you're fine. Take your money, shut up.
Is it recommended exposure level?
Dude, you're getting recommended exposure level from your computer screen, microwaves, all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
All this stuff has some level of radioactivity. Now, it's kind of funny, though, this 2011, report said that, hey, you're fine. A 1995 survey of 1,500 of the workers that worked on that ice showed that 410 of them died from cancer. The workers were 50% more likely to develop cancer than the general Danish population.
50%?
50% more likely.
Damn.
Yeah. So, but, 2011, they're like, don't worry, your exposure was less than, was less than the normal limit. You're fine. You're good. Stop spitting out your teeth at me.
Yeah. Say that to my third arm.
The final bit of controversy from this incident cropped up in 2008 when the BBC, the British news, claimed that America only accounted for the nuclear material from 3 of the 4 bombs and said that there was a whole bomb's worth of radioactive material still floating around in the North Bay Sea, or the North Star Bay. Sorry. The Danish government put together a commission, and their study, it took them a whole year, said that no, all 4 bombs in their material were accounted for. So, in your face, BBC, you don't know what you're talking about.
Nanny, nanny, boo boo. Now,
I'm sure, whoever did that study is like, man, American money's so easy to count. But, but I'm still going to count this as a happy ending. They got most of it. I mean, granted, I have no plans to go hang out in that area without a lead suit, but if the Danish government's happy, I'm happy too. Well, I think this is enough nuclear whoopsies, just in general. I mean, I'm not going to ask y'all to tell me to do a sequel to this one. I think I've done all the cool stories out of this. I also think, hey, U.S. government, please don't drop any more nukes on accident. I don't want you to do it here, and I don't want you to do it overseas either. I mean, I sit there and do the research on this, and I get all uncomfortable. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe, like this kind of weapon's getting dropped like this. Uh-huh. But, then I start to think, I'm like, you know what? I bet our government has scary virus labs just like the one in China that let out that other virus that we know about. And ours hasn't let out any nasty viruses yet, at least that I'm aware of. So we're good at one thing. Did you enjoy more nuclear stuff?
I'm just amazed by, once again, I know mistakes happen, accidents happen. It's part of human nature. But for something that is so dangerous, for them to have so many oopsies and just
32 of them.
Yeah, just straight up brain farts for the most part, it's amazing. I mean, luckily, like you said, the chemical compound never mixed, and none of it actually had the catastrophic nuclear explosion. But so they had some safe falls into effect, but it's still amazing.
I mean, at least now they're just kept in a, you just got big missiles in a tube somewhere, all over. Actually, I mean, they say those nuclear missile silos are all over the U.S. So
yeah, it's like, I don't doubt it. That's just crazy.
All right, cool. Well, join us. Oh, what was that?
I'm just saying that was a good one.
Oh, cool. Glad you enjoyed it.
Mhm.
Now, join us next time when Jason, if he isn't too busy auditioning for Friday the 13th, Part 11, Jason Takes Windsor, Ontario. He will tell us some stuff that will make us say, Waywut. So I'd like to think that, a Canadian Jason movie, would be like Jason, instead of a camp, he'd be at like some like vacant Tim Hortons or something, and be like, hey, I don't know what this is about, but I saw a big guy over there with a hockey mask and an axe, and I don't want to, I don't want to be rude, but he doesn't need to be like hitting people with that. It's not polite.
What's that about?
A boot.
About.
Yeah. Everybody says a boot. It's
About.
boat. A boat. And they say sorry.
Yeah, I hear
Sorry.
Jim Carrey say that one a lot.
All right. Now, that was for our Canadian fans out there. I hope y'all enjoyed, Thank you, Canada. Love you. I'll actually, see y'all in April. So, all right. Bye.
Later.
Thank you for joining us for Waywut. If you would, tell your friends or your enemies that they can watch us on YouTube or Rumble. And if you don't want to see our face, or if they don't want to see our faces, you can listen to us on your preferred audio platform. That's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, you name it, we're probably on there. Please like, review, and comment on whatever platform you joined us on today. We'd appreciate that a ton. Again, just thank you for listening and watching. We hope you'll join us next time. We'll make you say, wait, what?